At the start of any new year or quarter, we all have to make a plan or make decisions on how we're going to do our marketing, but making it actionable and sustainable is how you'll actually make real progress. A marketing plan is different to a strategy or an approach because it's the specific actions you plan to take in the near future. Today, I want to focus on that action plan, so you might want to listen to this and pause as you work on each part to take you through the process. But if you're doing the dishes or driving, you can also have a think as you listen. Welcome to the Digital Hive podcast, where we talk all things marketing for creative small businesses. Before you make any kind of plan, I like to start with one simple question. What does my marketing need? Not what is everyone else doing or what have I heard I should be doing, but what does my marketing need? This should all be in line with your offer and your target audience, as well as that strategy and approach. Your target audience are those who are most likely to want and be a good fit for your offer, so they're who you think of when creating marketing content. This dictates the demographics and psychographics of those you want to connect with, their needs, desires, and what working with or buying from you would help them achieve. Sometimes that audience evolves from what you thought you might be suited to versus the reality of who buys from you. It can also switch if your offer evolves over time or the world shifts around you. You might want to recalibrate some messages, phrasings, or content on your website, your social media bios, or other instances of those snapshots of information like an email welcome sequence. Now is also a good time to check in on your key messages, content pillars, and calls to action before you get too far into the nitty-gritty of what you'll create this year. Your key messages are the short things you consistently say across all your platforms. You might have key messages for each of your offers, about your expertise and how you work with people. I like to set out key messages with my clients based on situation too. So how can you grab their attention? How can they know they are a fit for your offer or fit into the audience? And how can you prove you understand their needs and wants? These might need updating, formalizing, or simply to be made more accessible for you to use more often. Content pillars are the buckets of content you should be sharing regularly for both potential and current customers, and should show off what you offer, why, a little bit of the how, and the benefits. You might also like to have formats or themes like funny, inspiring, or educational. These help you brainstorm faster and fill your content calendar with more ease. They can also help you be more consistent and cohesive in all the areas you talk about because one doesn't get left off too often. They don't have to be evenly shared about, but they're each important in their own right. You'll know this from going to a business's Instagram and either not being able to see what they sell, or only being able to see what they sell, or thinking they sell one thing and figuring out that they sell 5. Calls to action are how you prompt people to move to the next step. Using them correctly is mostly all about context. You might like to refresh the ones you already have or make sure every page on your website has one. You can also use them on social media so that people are more likely to comment or to go to your website or whatever a relevant next step might be. You might like to write or refresh your calls to action for those who don't know they need what you offer but want to see your work, for those who are getting comfortable with you but not quite open to buying yet, and for those who are open to buying or booking with you. You don't have to stick to the list every time, but I find it takes a lot of mental load off your plate to have a go-to list to refer to or to riff off. You might also like to consider your point of difference. Why are you the one they should hire or buy from? Most importantly, is your point of difference clear enough that your potential customers understand it and that those who know can tell others about it and fully articulate it? If not, that needs to go into the action plan. If you're thinking about what blog posts and other public content you could create to be found by new people, start with what they might be searching for. Are there questions they have about what you offer, about why they need it, about their symptoms and pain points, or about what's possible for them? Those searches they would literally type in is what you want to match. When I say match, I mean the title and description that would show on Google would be aligned, but also that the content answers the query, so it's not clickbait with no payoff. There's also the option of creating content so they're a more educated client or they already know how to use your product when they buy it. No trickery, just genuinely making it a more educated purchase. If you want to expand your work on the customer's experience, check through the full marketing and sales funnel series I've linked in the show notes where I walk through that whole process. You might also like to review which technical upgrades you want to make this year. You might not want to make any, but reviewing how your email marketing, SEO, and any apps you have built into your website can give you a list of optimizations that could make the process more easeful or fun. If you have an online store, you might like to look at which features you may like to add to your mix to upgrade the shopping and checkout process, as well as how nitty gritty you want to get with your post purchase email sequences. Is there anything you can do to make your marketing work more productive without wasting a bunch of time to create the system? This might look like creating canned emails, templates for blog posts or podcasts, either in written form or in your graphic design software. It might also look like spotting where you can repurpose content or reshare information you've previously shared in a slightly new format to iterate on time spent previously. That can be a real time saver and allow you to share more frequently. What you'll track is what you'll prioritize. So pick a KPI for every area you want to focus on, decide how you'll track it, and set a goal for at least the first quarter or for the full year. You've got to start somewhere, but you also need to have an end goal in mind before you set out. Now that you've created a big list of little projects, you'll probably find it a little overwhelming to prioritize what to start with. But before you start deciding when you'll do everything, you're best to do a time review. How much time do you have on a normal week? Are there months you'll take time off or have more offer work to do? Plan accordingly for those months and quarters to have less tasks or at least less time-consuming ones. How much time will you have in a usual week after you do your regular pieces? For example, your social media, blogs, email, podcasting. You might only have a few hours left, so it's better to be realistic about that. You'll also need to decide if there's some seasonality to the tasks you have planned, whether you want to batch, but also what you think could benefit the most by having more time. You might want to balance some short-term investments and long-term investments so that you can stagger your benefits and remain somewhat consistent. Seeing some results while you work on the bigger projects can keep you energized and motivated to keep trudging through the harder, less fun parts of any project. A short-term investment is one that pays off quickly, but they can often be a quick burn in marketing. Those might include social media content that is trend-focused, so it reaches a lot of people now, but isn't pushed by any algorithm after a few days. Advertising might be something you spend on over a long time, but it mostly has a very quick payoff. This is partially because you can only track a conversion from an ad within 30 days, but also because ads are usually aimed at getting a sale quite quickly. That's not to say your ads will start working efficiently right away, but they certainly stop having an effect as soon as you turn them off. A medium-term investment is one that you can work on now and see some benefit slowly, but it has a longer tail-end benefit. An email list is one of those investments where for many businesses they could convert someone from their email list to a purchase somewhat quickly, but also maintaining that subscriber for the long term. This could include types of advertising where consistency is the basis for its existence. This might look like a long-term partnership or collaboration with an influencer versus a one-off placement because you are continuing to work with them. It could also be sponsorship of a sports field where the regularity of support is what brings in the customer loyalty. It also includes ads that focus on an interaction earlier in the marketing and sales funnel and seek an engagement instead of a purchase. A long-term investment is something that you spend a lot of time on before it starts to pay off. While search engines have certainly gotten faster at ranking pages with new content, most industries have a reasonable amount of competition, so the individual pieces of work you do add up more slowly over time now. It tends to have the longest tail of benefit though, so it's more of a slow burn. Depending on your business model and your unique approach to marketing, different types of marketing might fit into these three categories, but I find that anything at website or SEO related affects almost every customer. It's a bigger investment, but it has a large impact too, so I like to prioritize it when I can. You can also prioritize based on your average purchase flow length. It might be that people will often buy after 2 to 3 months of being on your email list, or 9 to 12 months, but those are very different timelines to plan around. If you can project when you'll need to fill a client roster or when you plan to launch a product or have a big sale, you can plan your work around those dates. If you know you'll be best to grow and engage with your email audience for a few months and you plan to launch in 5 months, now would be the time to focus on growing the list, with that consistent content being a close second. It's up to you what you choose to focus on and how you make that decision, but you want this action plan to be truly actionable. It's not as fun, and for me, it can be overwhelming to sit down to a task and the first thing I have to do is figure out what the steps actually are. You'll need to break it down into a much more specific list to make it more achievable. It's made more achievable because you can plan better for how much time each thing will take, but also because you don't find yourself stuck in the unknown. I prefer to do this right away so I don't get the overwhelm hangover by leaving it to another day. As you put everything in writing to action throughout the year, you might not get as specific for the work you'll do in Q4 because you'll spend your time focused on what's coming up sooner. However, getting as specific as you can right now, based on what you're already thinking and already know, will help you out later rather than trying to remember all the things that you were thinking months from now. Before I mark my planning as done, I like to put all those projects, tasks, and subtasks into my system of choice, which is currently Notion. If you use something else, put it in there. If you still use paper, make sure it's in a place that's easy to find and refer to every day, because this has now become your to-do list. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Digital Hive podcast. If you're enjoying the podcast, I'd truly appreciate it if you could share it with a friend or on Instagram and tag me at Honeypot Digital if you're sharing the behind the scenes of making your marketing action plan, either for the year or for the quarter. To find out more about Honeypot Digital and the marketing strategy and coaching work I do, or to find more marketing resources, head to honeypotdigital.com.